Hi, everyone. It's me, Linda B, and welcome back. So, today I want to do a reaction video to PragerU's topic of, well, the inconvenient truth of the Republican Party. I did a video on the Democratic Party, but now I'm going to do a video about the Republican Party. So I want you guys to give me your comments below and really engage with me in the comments. But before we get started, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. On my way to 20,000 subscribers by the end of April. You guys have really been supportive. I really appreciate it. Also, follow me on Facebook and Instagram, The Real Linda Bentley. And you can email me at chatwithmelindab at gmail.com. Now, let's get into it.
Racist, sexist, Republican, these words are virtually interchangeable, at least according to most professors, journalists, and celebrities. So are they right? Let's take a look at history. The Republican Party was created in 1854. The first Republican Party platform, adopted at the party's first national convention in 1856, promised to defeat, quote, those twin relics of barbarism, polygamy, and slavery. Those twin relics were spreading into the Western territories. Republicans feared that as those territories became states, polygamy and slavery might become permanent parts of American life.
Wait a minute. So, polygamy was an issue back then? I knew the Republicans were against slavery. I knew that, but polygamy was an issue. See, I didn't know that. Learn something new every day.
Polygamy, the marriage of one man to multiple women, devalued women and made them a kind of property. Slavery, of course, did the same to blacks, literally. The Democrats were so opposed to the Republicans and their anti-slavery stance that in 1860, just 6 weeks after the election of the first Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, South Carolina, a state dominated by Democrats, voted to secede from the Union. The Civil War that followed was the bloodiest war in U.S. history. It led to the passage by Republicans of the 13th Amendment, which freed the slaves, the 14th Amendment, which gave them citizenship, and the 15th Amendment, which gave them the vote. In 1870, the first Black senator and the first Black congressman were sworn in, both Republicans. In fact, every Black representative in the House until 1935 was a Republican, and every Black senator until 1979 was too. For that matter, the first female member of Congress was a Republican. The first Hispanic governor and senator were Republicans.
I didn't know that. Okay, so until everybody was, well, Black men were able to vote and run for political office. I knew that in the period called Reconstruction. I already knew that. And Black politicians, they were all Republicans up until 1935. And I know about, and I can't remember the name, there was a Black man that I guess ran for the Democratic Party in 1935, but why would he do that? I got to do something on that particular Black man. Like, why would you do that? The Democrats were clearly for slavery and clearly for Jim Crow laws. I don't understand. Maybe I don't know anything about that man, but I'm going to find out about him. And that was until 1935. And I see that a first female member of Congress and Hispanic governor and senator were all Republican. Okay, now that's something interesting.
The first Asian senator, you get the idea. Republicans also kept their pledge to defend women's rights. In 1862, the Morrill Anti-Bigamy Act was passed by the Republican-controlled Congress to put an end to polygamy. In 1920, after 52 years of Democratic Party opposition, the 19th Amendment was ratified thanks to the Republican Congress, which pressured Democratic President Woodrow Wilson to drop his opposition to women's rights. In the final tally, only 59% of House Democrats and 41% of Senate Democrats supported women's suffrage. That's compared to 91% of House Republicans and 82% of Senate Republicans. There certainly was a war on women, and it was led by the Democratic Party. But while Republicans had won a major battle for women's rights, the fight for Black civil rights had a long way to go. In the 1920s, Republican President Calvin Coolidge declared that the rights of Blacks are just as sacred as those of any other citizen.
Wow, I'm learning a lot here, guys. Hopefully you are as well. Um, Calvin Coolidge, a Republican president, stated that the rights of Blacks are just as sacred of those of any other citizen. And I didn't realize the Republicans, I knew that they were against slavery, but I didn't realize the push that Republicans, they were behind women getting their right to vote as well. So they pushed and passed the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote in the 1920s suffrage movement. But I do know a little bit about the suffrage movement now. I do remember that Black women still had their fight trying to be equal to white women in that fight. I read some things where some of the women didn't want the Black women to participate, saying that it was just for white women. But we're past that now, and this is good to know that the Republicans not only fought for the rights of Blacks, but for women as well. Good to know.
By contrast, when famed sprinter Jesse Owens, a staunch Republican, won 4 gold medals at the 1936 Berlin Olympics, he was snubbed by Democratic President Franklin Roosevelt. Roosevelt only invited white Olympians to the White House. 2 decades later, it was a Republican president, Dwight Eisenhower, who sent the 101st Airborne Division to escort Black students into Little Rock Central High when Arkansas Governor Orville Forbes, a Democrat, refused to honor a court order to integrate the state's public schools. The Civil Rights Act of 1960, which outlawed poll taxes and other racist measures meant to keep Blacks from voting, was filibustered by 18 Democrats for 125 hours.
Wow.
Not one Republican senator opposed the bill. Its follow-up bill, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, is one of the landmark pieces of legislation in American history. That, too, survived a filibuster by Democrats thanks to overwhelming Republican support. But you might be thinking, all that's in the past. What have Republicans done for women and Blacks lately? The answer you'd hear from professors, journalists, and celebrities is not much. And this time they'd be right. They'd be right because the Republican Party treats Blacks and women as it treats everyone, as equals. The Democratic Party never has, and it still doesn't. Today's Democrats treat Blacks and women as victims who aren't capable of succeeding on their own. The truth is, this is just a new kind of contempt. So there is a party with a long history of racism and sexism, but it ain't the Republicans. I'm Carol Swain for Prager University.
Wow, that's amazing, guys. That is truly amazing. Yeah, I did another video on Carol Swain, how she switched from the Democratic Party, got off the Democratic plantation and went to the Republican Party. She went to, she was Democrat and then she became an independent and then she became a Republican. And so this is just good knowledge to have, especially when you get into talking points with different people and maybe they don't know the history of things. And we can all learn something. Nobody knows everything. I'm learning just like you guys are. You teach me, I help teach you, we teach each other, right? And so I like the fact that the Republicans don't do anything to hurt Black people or women, but they don't necessarily feel like they got to help you along either because they don't look at people as victims. They look at you like you're able to do it yourself as well. If you have God on your side, which is what I stand for, God on your side, and work hard. If you have a good work ethic, you can get to wherever you want to go in life, be whatever you want to be, as long as you're able to do those things, put in the work, have God on your side and work. You don't need somebody to give you something. Just like it's what I call soft racism. It's because they feel like you need our help because you're poor little black thing. You can't do it on your own. You don't even have sense enough to have ID so you can vote. We got to help you. It's that dumbing down thing that I really can't stand. I have total disdain for. And I always say that whatever something is rooted in, that is the fruit that it bears. And I know some people say, well, didn't the parties switch? They actually did not. That is something that I believe, the left or the Democrats put out there to try to separate themselves from their racist past. And I would probably do a more in depth video of how the parties did not switch. One of the things that lets me know that they did not switch is because the Democratic Party is the party of slavery and the KKK and Jim Crow. Well, you saw how all those Democratic presidents were against Black people having our rights and against women having rights too. They were. Until today, even in 2024, Democrats always vote against school choice. So they don't, a lot of the public schools, the kids read below grade level. They do math below grade level. And a lot of parents want the option to have school choice. Well, the Democratic Party is not for school choice. They want you to stay in your failing school where the kids can't read. And the Democratic plantation, the slavery plantation, the slave owners did not want their slaves learning how to what? Read. So that's the same exact party. They're trying to separate themselves and try to say, well, the parties switch in something called the Southern strategy under Nixon. That's simply not true. The Democratic Party just simply became more inventive and more just sneakier in hiding their racism. And you notice they use racism a lot on the left. They're always saying the Republicans are the racists, but whenever you see someone, I'm telling you, whenever you see someone always bringing up racism over everything and always saying the other side is racist repeatedly, they're more than likely the ones that are the racists themselves. They're just projecting their sin off on the other person or the other group, or in this case, the other party. Always remember that. You can't always look at the person doing the pointing the finger. The one pointing the finger is typically the guilty one. Okay, just saying. So you guys don't fall for that. I call it don't fall for the okie doke. Well, I hope you guys learned a lot from this particular lesson. And also, the fight for women's rights. That is beautiful. Oh, and polygamy? What? I didn't realize that it was an issue. I always knew about slavery being an issue and they were fighting about that back in the 1800s, but I didn't know that men were marrying multiple women. And the Republican Party was like, no, you get married to one woman. So they were against polygamy as well, which is good to know because I can only imagine with one man having multiple wives that some wives are going to be treated better than others. And that's not how God intended marriage to be anyway. It's always been one man and one woman as God's biblical definition of marriage. Well, you guys tell me what you think about the video and if there's things that you already knew and what things you didn't know, and leave me your comments below. Well, that's it for now. You guys have a blessed day. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel on my way to 20,000 subscribers by the end of April. Again, be blessed. And as I always say, march on, warriors.